Hi ladies, welcome back to my channel. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about Wizard Liz again. I released a video earlier this year, sometime last year, when it first came out that she was pregnant, and I thought that I had said all that I needed to say, but with recent developments, I'm going to talk about this further. But I'm going to speak about this from the angle of how some men will weaponize childbirth, child rearing, pregnancy, etc. to control women. And I think that this is a classic example of what Liz is going through at the moment. And if we're honest, there are many women who have similar stories to Liz. And this situation keeps happening time and time again because many women are still very much male-centered. And when I say male-centered, I'm not saying like it's wrong to want to be paired with a man, okay? It's a natural biological need and desire for women to want to be in a relationship with men and vice versa. There's nothing wrong with that. And for those who are dumb, and I have to spell it out for you, this doesn't apply to every single man. Not every man is looking to finesse women. Not every man is looking to trap you with a baby. Not every man has the intention of getting you pregnant in order to destroy your life and then bounce, okay? I know there's people who are just itching to leave that comment and say, not every man. Okay, so now that we've got that out the way, there are men who still very much value traditional family values. They want to leave behind a legacy. They want to build healthy, happy, sustainable families. Those men do not belong to this conversation. We're not talking about them. We're talking about hurt, damaged, bitter men who are the male equivalent of hurt, damaged, bitter women who employ extreme measures to control the opposite gender as a way to make themselves feel good about themselves for whatever reason, whatever unhealed, unresolved trauma they've got going on, rather than them confronting it, identifying it, working through it, healing from that to become a better person. They find ways to punish the opposite sex. And a big way that they do this is obviously manipulation in order to control the outcome and the behavior of that individual. And deep down inside, they do desire wholesome, healthy relationships with the opposite sex, but again, because they are too damaged to contribute meaningfully and in a healthy way to a sustainable relationship, they blame it on, well, I'm not able to attract a good man, or I'm not able to attract a good woman because, you know, they're all the same and all men are dogs and all women, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. These type of toxic rhetoric that you hear both sides spewing out. And so rather than them identifying like, okay, wait, maybe I'm the problem. Yes, there are bad men and women out there, but maybe I keep attracting these type of people because I am the yin to that yang. I am the male or female equivalent to that dichotomy. And so I keep dancing the same dance to the same tune because I am the male or female equivalent to this. And so one of the ways that this manifests, I've spoken about women trying to finesse men, trying to get money out of men, trying to downplay and whatever. And the very obvious way, like, for example, just as an aside to help lay the landscape, is when you hear women say like, oh, you need to finesse men. And I always tell women, do not pair yourselves with bums. Do not pair yourself with men who are not providers, who are not leaders, who do not subscribe to their masculine duty of having the masculine traits that I just described. And if you're familiar with my content, you know exactly why I say that. I'm not going to go into detail. But on the flip side of that, I also tell women that it is important for you to be self-sufficient. And I also tell my followers to not blindly listen to and accept the rhetoric that is being spewed online, because people lie, right? Wizard Liz and the likes of her told women that you must be with a man who pays all your bills. You must manifest. And if you don't have a man who's paying all your bills and giving you designer every single date and whatever, then, you know, you ain't shit and you haven't manifested the life that you want, and it's all your fault. Meanwhile, okay, we found out that not only was Landon not giving Liz the life that she told you that you should have, or else your life is worthless, we found out that Liz was the one who was taking care of things financially. So not only was Landon not spoiling her, the roles were reversed in that she was playing the masculine provider in that relationship, paying for everything and taking care of everything and positioning it in a way where it seemed as if she was in that provider princess relationship where Landon was the provider, she was a spoiled princess, and you ain't shit because you're not living this life. Okay, so that's one. But the way that, to the point of this video, the way that men try to humble and target women, one of the ways that they try to do this, and this is a method of war, if you will, that has been employed by damaged, hurt men for centuries, is by impregnating women. And in previous times, it started with marrying women young, because in previous decades, it was unheard of for a woman to get pregnant and have a child outside of wedlock. So in order to achieve that goal, the man had to marry that woman and marry her young, when she was young, naive, uneducated, ignorant, had not seen the world, had not learned much about her. All she knew was what her immediate circle socialized her to learn, and that was, the moment that you get your period, you're a woman, and a woman's duty is to get married ASAP to the first man that will give her attention, and he's nice enough, and he has money if you're lucky, and have children for him right away. Otherwise, your worth and your value diminishes by the day. So men, and primarily older men, and women would play into this too, where you would have men in their 30s and up marrying young girls. Like there's stories where like people would post stories about their family tree, and one of the common themes that we hear is like, oh, my grandma was 14, my grandma was 17, and my grandfather was in his 30s, or he was in his 20s, and like that was normal, right? And then you fast forward to today, where things have changed, thank God, kinda, where marriage is not required by women to have children, right? And so women are having children outside of wedlock. But the common theme and the common denominator between then and now is that men would target women who are vulnerable, okay, when you're young, you're a minor, including even when you're in your early 20s and you still don't even know yourself and you're trying to figure yourself out. And even men of that age too, because they've been socialized, not all of them again, but men who do these things are socialized by their community to carry out these harmful behaviors. They would specifically target women who they think is vulnerable so that they can control, because men like that, broken, hurt men, they gain their sense of meaning and value from being able to manipulate and control women. And in the modern age, the way that that is playing out is being able to manipulate and control a rising star, a woman who is successful, a woman who is climbing the corporate ladder, building her business, gaining fame and popularity. And if you are a man who is insecure and you're obviously not accomplished in your own way, you're gonna feel threatened by the woman who is able to thrive and succeed in a patriarchal society that was set up to benefit men. But for some reason, you were not able to crack the code and succeed in this patriarchal society that was set up for you. But you see a woman who has historically been the underdog, right? Who has historically been the benefactor of oppression because of patriarchy. She is now outperforming you. She is now earning millions. She is now managing, whether we know that the way that she has achieved it or whether or not it's legitimate or not is besides the point, but she has managed to create a facade or an actual reality where she has the possessions and the success that society uses to measure a man's success. She has it and you don't. And so in today's society, and a day and an age where women are increasingly out earning men in a lot of industries. And yes, like obviously the gender pay gap still exists, but there are a growing number of women who are out earning their male counterparts. There are a growing number of women who are becoming more self-sufficient. This decade, this era that we're in is arguably the first time ever in human history where women don't rely on men anymore, or they don't have to rely on men anymore for sustainability, care, and provision in the ways that our female counterparts of previous times have had to, right? And part of that, again, was subjecting themselves to oppression, abuse, exploitation, etc., because they had no choice. They were not able to earn and enter spaces where they could earn at the same level of a man in order to be able to sustain themselves. And so if you are a man who is struggling, because again, like even though society was set up to benefit men, life is still not easy. There are still many challenges and obstacles that you have to overcome in building your business and sustaining your business and climbing the corporate ladder, whatever it may be, in competing in whatever. And so if you are struggling and you've given up, or you're just lazy and unmotivated and you've never tried, and you see a woman on the surface, it looks like she's easily achieving what you could not achieve, that is going to anger, hurt, broken men. And one of the ways that they will try to get their lick back or try to get their revenge is they will try to humble you, right? And try to trap you by using your own biology and your own anatomy against you. And that's the obvious way of doing that is by impregnating you and giving you a child. Because we all know the moment that you get pregnant, your life is going to change forever. Even if you don't have the baby, right? You put the child up for adoption, whatever, you are out of commission for 9 months. You are vulnerable because your hormones are changing, obviously. You're growing a human being inside of you. And so you are slower physically. You're not as fast and witty and whatever when you were not pregnant, because now again, like you have this human being growing inside of you. So you have to take it easy, because one slick move could change things, not for the good. Right? So you're out of commission for 9 months. You're out of commission for, honest to God, like a year up to 2 years after you give birth, because your body needs to not just snap back physically in terms of you need to look good physically, but your body needs to go through the long, drastic hormonal change of going back to what life was like before you grew a human being inside of you. Okay. So just that impacts you psychologically, mentally, emotionally, because even just looking at yourself when you're on your period, okay, we are not at our best when we're on our period. Okay, because your body's going through that hormonal change. So imagine that on a larger scale after you've given birth. But then if you do decide to keep that child, you then have to contend with finding childcare, raising the child, sleepless nights. My kid is sick, so I can't go to this networking event, or I can't go on that trip, or I can't do whatever because my kid is sick. I need to find a sitter. And if you don't have the luxury of having a support system, 1 or 2 sets of grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins to help, or a nanny, night nurse, whatever, then all of that responsibility is on you. Even if you have a supportive partner, the bond between a mother and a child is arguably much greater than between a father and a child, because you're the one who grew that child. You have that emotional connection. Babies, especially infants and newborns, they literally see you as an extension of them because they lived in you for 9 months. And so any moment, anyone who has a clingy child will know, any moment that you step away from that kid, they literally lose their minds because they feel like they're losing a part of themselves. They haven't grown and realized like, oh, I'm a separate individual human being. And so it's okay. Like I'm not dying because mom stepped away for a second to go take a shower. Okay. And so a lot of men know this, and they will weaponize getting you pregnant in order to slow you down. If he sees that your career is on the up and up and his isn't, even if he makes more money than you, by the way, but he sees that you're trying to level up in your career, one of the excuses is that, you just want to get a better career because you want to be introduced to better quality men, because they know that better quality men than them exist out there. And they know that the moment that you realize that there's a likelihood of you opening your eyes to see that, why am I wasting my time with this guy who is going nowhere in life, but also who does not mean me well? I can literally go and get better. And it's not to say that every single time you go somewhere and you're exposed to a better man, like, oh, I want that. No, they just know that they are not the best option for you. They are not, in fact, even a good option for you. And they know that the moment that they realize it, but they know that the moment that you realize it, there's a chance that they're either going to have to put in effort to maintain you, or they're going to lose access to you altogether. And for a lot of men, having access to a woman, whether it's sexually, whether it's that emotional care and dependency, or for a lot of men like Landon, it is having access to someone that is going to pay the bills, take care of them financially, because they can't do it for themselves for whatever reason. And they know that there's better out there. And the moment that you gain access to these spaces, you now stand a chance and are eligible to be with these men. And so it's like, oh no, I'm not about to lose my meal ticket. Or for some men who don't rely on you financially, it's like, my ego can't take the hit of losing this woman to a better quality man. So I'm going to slow her down by getting her pregnant. Or I'm going to reduce her market value, if you will, because some men believe that a woman will not be able to her market value in the dating market will go down if she has a child. And arguably, objectively, yes, that is the case if you have a young kid, because that looks like baggage. Like, okay, you have a young child, where's the father? There's that connection there. Like, focus on that child before you decide to start dating again. And some men simply just don't want to raise another man's child, and that's their choice. And so some men know this, and instead of them saying, you know what, I actually want to do better, I want to build a family with you, etc., I'm going to marry you. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to marry you, and then we're going to have a family. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that my family has a soft place to land and thrive. But a lot of guys, they don't want to do that because, again, it's not about having that traditional, healthy male-female connection with you. It's about control, and it's about their ego taking the cheap shortcut way of maintaining control over somebody else because they don't feel like they have control over themselves. And so for a lot of men, that is getting you pregnant. And that's why in the Black community, for example, you'll wonder, like, why is there so many Black women, like single mothers, like they're able to attract a man and let that man get her pregnant, but they're never able to attract a man who will actually marry her and do right by her. That's because those men don't want to do that. They want to slow her down, especially considering the fact that Black women outpace Black men in education, in corporate, in success in that way. And so it's like, it's the whole who do you think you are type of mentality where it's like, I'm going to teach you a lesson I'm going to make you think that I care for you, that I love you, I'm going to get you pregnant. And the moment that I get you pregnant, the moment that I achieve my goal, I'm going to switch up, quote unquote, and show you my true colors. When the signs were there all along. The signs were there when I didn't like you enough to actually go out and make something meaningful of myself and then be able to bring that back to you so that we can build a legacy together, get you marry you, provide for you, give you a comfortable life and a soft place to land so that you can have children in a healthy, sustainable household. I'm not going to do all of that, but I will, okay? I will get you pregnant, and now you have to bear the burden of taking care of yourself, taking care of a kid, and taking care of me if you're dumb enough to keep me around. And in Landon's case, he did want to marry Liz, but Liz said that no, she recognized he didn't want to marry him because he wanted to have access to her assets, which obviously you can protect that through a prenup. But it begs the question, like, if you didn't think that he was a suitable person to marry because you saw these risks, why did you think that he was a suitable individual to get pregnant by? That is arguably more dangerous because now look at what he's doing, where he's achieved the goal of getting her pregnant. But he's even more devious in that he didn't just stop there and be like, haha, like, you're now a baby mom. You've now been exposed for not practicing what you preach. Like, hold on to that scarlet letter forever. He has set it up in a way where he probably timed it where, because her immigration status is precarious and she had to pretty much self-deport so that she would not actually get deported from the United States, he took possession of the child, is not allowing her to see the child. She has no idea how that child is doing, is threatening to file a restraining order so that even if she were to get back into the country, she cannot see her child because of that restraining order, and is demanding that she provide money for a nanny and other things while he probably honestly is not even taking care of the kid himself. I bet you his mama, his sister, auntie, some woman in the family who, let's face it, men like Landon exist because women enable the men like Landon in their families to be the pieces of shit that they are. He's probably taking that money and going out and entertaining other women, okay, while his mom takes care of the baby. And Liz is wherever the hell she's at, crying and pining for her child. And this child, I mentioned before that children, infants, newborns, whatever, they think that you are literally an extension of them because of that 9-month bond. That child is probably going through a psychological breakdown, an emotional breakdown, because it's like, where is my other half? Where is my host? Something is missing. And so that's why a lot of kids who are in foster care, just as an aside, a lot of babies, I should say, who are in foster care, who are adopted, they tend to be a little bit more cranky because their mother, their other counterpart is not with them. And they literally need that connection, which is why the moment that a baby is born, now, the nurses will do skin to skin, like bare skin to chest, so that that baby feels that warmth and that nurturing connection immediately. That literally helps to establish and build strong coping and self-soothing mechanisms for that baby. And the more you do it, the more that child is able to grow up and self-soothe. The more that child is able to grow up and have healthier boundaries. They're able to regulate their emotions as they get older because their psychological and emotional need was taken care of in that prime newborn and infancy development state. And so now that baby is without his mom. And I'm not saying that all hope is lost, but it's going to be a little bit harder for him to figure out his emotions on his own as a baby because his mom is not around. Because his dad wanted to spite Liv. His dad wanted to spite his mom. His dad wanted to prove to the world that he's able to conquer and humble a woman who built her career and her identity off of, I'm smarter than men, all men are stupid, this is how you get a man to do what you want, only to be exposed for not having that lifestyle, for being a fraud. And now he is punishing her by doing one of the cruelest things that you could ever do to a woman and her child, and that is separating mother and baby and child. So I say all this to say 25 minutes later into this video that a man telling you that, first of all, a man that you recognize that doesn't have his shit together, if you as a woman, first, even if you don't have your shit together, but especially if you have your stuff together, you have, even if you're not making six figures, $500,000, whatever, but you are able to hold on to a steady job, you have good benefits, you are ambitious, you have dreams of, I want to climb the corporate ladder one day, I want to go higher and higher, I want to get my master's degree, like I want to start a business, whatever. You are better off remaining single and alone than to pair yourself with any man who does not have that same level of ambition or more, or who is not able to expose you to the type of life that will get you higher. And that's not from an opportunistic standpoint of, oh, you need to get with men and use them and fleece them and then leave. I hope that you catch the crux of what I'm saying at this point, but it's from a sociological, psychological synergy standpoint where, because men are sociologically wired to be the provider and the protector and the leader, the moment that you assume that role, whether you intend to or not, and he is now obviously pushed into the receiver end, that man is going to despise you, and he's going to do everything in his power to embarrass you. For some men, it's cheating. For some men, it's him simply just being mean to you and him not liking you and him taking it out on you because he is jealous of you being able to achieve something that he wasn't able to achieve. Or for some men, if he's malicious enough, it is, I'm going to slow down her growth. I'm going to put her out of commission for some time by getting her pregnant. Even though I don't care about that child, I have no intention of being present, being an active, healthy father in that kid's life. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bounce and let the women in my family take care of that kid. But he knows that the biggest way to slow down a woman is to get her pregnant. And that's not to instill fear and to say that, pregnancy and childbirth and family is a bad thing, because if you do it right with a man who actually wants to provide and protect, and those men do exist, it is a beautiful thing. You don't have to worry about finances. Honestly, you don't even have to worry about your career because you're with a man who provides and takes care of you anyway. And he's probably well connected enough where it's like, hey, my wife just had a baby, she's getting back into it. Prior to this, she was the manager of bop, 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 bop. She's looking for the next best thing, help her out. That's how women of affluent spaces, even just simple middle-class spaces, are able to thrive and continue to build their careers after they have childbirth, after they have a child, because number one, they have their own connections and network that they built on their own, but number two, they're paired with men who are able to help cultivate that and support that in them. And so you as a woman, you're at a deficit if you decide one day that you want to pair yourself with a man who has nothing to offer. Not only are you at a deficit, but you are at a risk of that man trying to humble you and slow you down for the reasons that I just mentioned in this video. So let that man, but he has the potential, let him figure it out on his own. And if he never figures it out, that's his problem, not yours. Use that energy to build your own career, and you'll notice that you are less stressed, you will look more vibrant, and as an extension, you will then start to attract better quality men who's like, man, this girl has it going on. I want to take her under my wing and not only build a romantic connection with her and have a healthy family legacy with her, but I also want to pour into her and mentor her, because men like that who are healthy and who operate at that level recognize that their wife is an extension of them. And so if she's winning, that's a reflection like, wow, man, you got it going on. You have the career, you have the money, you have the network, and your wife is killing it too in her career. Like, wow, teach me your ways. I want to be just like you. And men, one of the number one things that men desire more than anything is respect. Respect from the woman, respect from their peers. And if you are able to kind of mirror that and give that to him indirectly by taking his advice, letting that man coach you and help you with your career, babes, he's going to roll out the red carpet for you every time and take care of you and give you everything that you need. But you have to be willing to cultivate your own life and your own skill set, have your own thing going on, so that you will look like a benefactor, you will look like an asset to him and not a basket case that he has to rescue. And you have to be willing to be okay with being alone for some time. if you don't achieve that connection, or, if it takes longer than necessary to get that connection. But because a lot of women are driven by the whole rhetoric of, if you're 25 and you don't have a child or a man, you've hit the wall. If you're not married by 30, you've hit the wall. And let's face it, even though Liz's content, the objective of the content was to help counteract the red pill indoctrination, she's a victim of that same indoctrination that she claimed she was above and able to finesse because she fell for the okie doke. She was still willing to give a man a child out of wedlock, and a man that she knew did not live up to the type of lifestyle that she said that he lived up to, right? She was able to still lie down and procreate with this guy, despite telling you not to get with guys like that, who cannot provide and protect, and they don't have their own thing going on. And if another content creator or one of her fans came out and said, Liz, this happened to me, right? If they were going through the same thing that Liz was going through, she would probably be like, well, you should have listened to my videos. You should have watched my videos. You had this coming. Be smarter. Never pair yourself with men who have nothing going on. Never pair yourself with loser men. So I say all this to say, one of the biggest risks that you can take in life as a woman is to have a child. Not just for the reasons that I mentioned, but also because of the literal physical risks. There are women whose lives change physically. Unfortunately, there are women who pass from childbirth, not to scare you, but to help paint the perspective of the big undertaking and risk that you take on the moment that you decide to have a child. And if you decide to do it, you need to make sure that you are well protected. And a part of that is not having to worry about whether or not your man is going to spite you during one of your most vulnerable moments in life. Anyway, these are my thoughts on the topic. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.